Gather round now, and let me tell you a tale. Oh, it didn't happen in a land of magic beans or sleeping princesses. No. It happened right here, on a farm, not so different from ones you might know. This was Manor Farm, and it was a tired, sad place. The animals were overworked, underfed, and oh so very weary. Their master, a fellow by the name of Mr. Jones, well, he'd taken to the bottle, you see. Forgot to feed them, forgot to clean them, just forgot about them altogether. But there was one old fellow who hadn't forgotten a thing. Old Major, a majestic old boar with a wise gleam in his eye. He had a dream. One night he called all the animals to the big barn. "Friends, comrades," he cried, his voice weak but full of fire. "Have you ever wondered why we live such short, miserable lives? It is man. Man is the only creature who consumes without producing. He is the root of all our problems. Imagine a world without him." Well, I tell you, the animals were electrified. They learned a song called Beasts of England about that glorious day when the tyranny of man would be overthrown. They sang it with such passion, such hope. It echoed through the rafters and gave even the meekest chicken a flutter of courage. Not long after, old Major passed on. God rest his soul. But his dream? Oh, that lived on. It was taken up by two young pigs, the cleverest on the farm. There was Snowball, quick-speaking and inventive, and Napoleon, a large, fierce-looking Berkshire boar, who wasn't much for talking, but had a way of getting what he wanted, and a little pig named Squealer, who could turn black into white with his clever tongue. They turned old Major's dream into a proper philosophy called animalism. What is this animalism? The less clever animals would ask. Squealer would blink his twinkling eyes and say, "Why, it's simple, comrades. It's the world old Major promised. All animals are equal. Isn't that splendid?" Well, the revolution came sooner than anyone thought. Mr. Jones forgot to feed them for 2 whole days. The animals could stand it no longer. They turned the cowshed buckets upside down. The horses kicked down the doors, and they drove Mr. Jones, his wife, and his men right off the farm. They were free. They were their own masters. They changed the name to Animal Farm, and oh, what a glorious place it was. They painted 7 commandments on the barn wall, the most important being, all animals are equal. They worked for themselves, and the food tasted sweeter for it. The pigs, being the cleverest, naturally took charge of the organizing. Snowball started committees and even had a grand plan for a windmill to give them electricity. But Napoleon, he opposed every idea. Windmill? Nonsense, a waste of time, he'd grunt. Then one day, something dreadful happened. Napoleon raised 9 puppies he'd taken from their mother. He raised them in secret, and when they were grown into huge, fearsome dogs, he used them to chase Snowball right off the farm. He was a traitor, Napoleon declared, a dangerous criminal. The animals were terrified and confused, but Squealer was soon trotting around, blinking his innocent eyes. "Comrades, you don't think Comrade Napoleon would do such a thing without the deepest care for the farm, do you? The windmill was his idea all along. He simply let Snowball take the credit. It's called tactics." Well, who were they to argue? Especially with those 9 dogs growling. Life became harder. The windmill was built, then fell down in a storm. "Snowball!" Napoleon cried. He sneaked in and destroyed it. They built it again. They had to trade with the very men they'd overthrown. The pigs moved into the farmhouse and started sleeping in the beds. But when the other animals were sure this was against the rules, they'd amble up to the barn wall. And would you believe it? The commandments seemed to have changed. "No animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets," it now said. Well, that seemed all right then. Squealer was always there to explain. The pigs, the brains of the farm, need quiet and comfort to do their important work. Surely you don't want Jones to come back. The very thought of Jones coming back was enough to make anyone agree. They worked harder, ate less, and trusted that the pigs knew best. Years passed. The pigs began to walk on their hind legs. Napoleon carried a whip. The 7 commandments were all gone, replaced by just one single simple rule on the barn wall. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. One evening, the other animals peeked in the farmhouse window. They saw the pigs and the local farmers sitting around a table, playing cards and toasting to their good fortune. There was a quarrel over a card game, and Napoleon and a farmer named Mr. Pilkington both played an ace of spades at the same time. The animals listening outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, but already it was impossible to say which was which. And so, the revolution was over. The tired, weary animals were still tired and weary. The masters had just changed their names. And the dream of a farm where all animals were equal, well, it faded away, like a song no one could quite remember the words to anymore.